Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Michelle. I'm your host, Michelle Hart, your #1 nutritionist and fat loss specialist. This show is all about how to eat, move, and live to have a fit and healthy life. Today's topic is your spring diet. Okay, spring has sprung and it's getting warmer out there, but we need to know that we also need to change our diets alongside of the change in weather. And so today you're going to learn about 3 things. The first one is my spring restoration diet. The second thing you're going to learn are the 2 most important organs that you need to pay attention to and clean. And the third one is how to incorporate these new foods into your daily diet, very simply and easily. Okay, so let's talk about the spring restoration diet. Well, the spring restoration diet is going to include certain foods that you're going to want to incorporate to be able to clean out 2 most important organs. What are they? The liver and the gallbladder. So the liver sits on the top upper right quadrant just above your abdomen, and it has so many important functions. So I'm going to talk about what they are. So it is the largest detoxifying organ in the body. What that means is it keeps your inner terrain clean from all the toxins so that you feel well. It also performs 500 to 600 different functions every second. So it's such an important organ. And what it does is it detoxifies the body, so it clears out the toxins so that you feel well. It also is important for hormone degradation. What that means is if you have hormone issues like estrogen, that is too much of the harmful estrogens that is causing things like cancer, it's because the liver is congested. Because the liver, what it does is it degrades the harmful estrogens into helpful estrogens so that you have a healthy metabolism and so that you can prevent things like cancer. It also produces bile. What is bile? Bile is so important. So bile is actually made in the liver, and what it does is it helps you break down your fats so that you can have good hormone function, you have beautiful skin, and you have energy, because that's what the fats will do for you. It's also really important for blood sugar regulation. So if your blood sugar is out of whack, which means you need to eat every 2 or 3 hours, you know your blood sugar is not balanced, or you feel that your moods go up and down quite quickly, again, your blood sugar is not balanced, or you feel like you can't go more than 4 hours without eating and you're getting hangry, that's a blood sugar dysregulation. Well, you need to really look at the liver. It also stores your most important fat-soluble vitamins, which is vitamin A, which is really good for your skin, vitamin D, which is important to prevent things like the C word that's out there, and also prevent cancer for sure. The C word is a different C word. Vitamin E, which is again really good for your skin. So if you want gorgeous skin, you're going to want to make sure your liver is clean. That's really, really, really important. I work a lot with skin. And if I see a lot of pimples, especially along the jawline, or any psoriasis, eczema, these are all signs of liver congestion. B12, again, if you're feeling really fatigued and you don't know why, it could be due to the liver as well. It also stores your iron. Again, getting back to fatigue. Well, it could be that your iron is really, really low. And you'll also got the brain fog too. That comes along with low iron and low B12. It also stores your copper. You need enough copper. It actually acts an antiviral. So anytime you have an infection, copper gets shunted to the area. That's why you wondered why you have kind of green mucus. That's actually the copper being shunted to be able to clear away the microbe. So I'm going to talk about how you definitively know how well your liver is functioning, and that is, I love testing blood. So, blood doesn't lie, and I recommend everybody get their blood work done at least once a year. Get it done once a year and look to see if there's any abnormalities. But when it comes to liver, these are the liver markers that you want to really pay attention to. So today we're going to talk about ALT, AST, and ALP, and bilirubin. So those are your primary markers for liver health. Now, if you're seeing, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about those. So once you get your blood work back and it shows that your ALP is anywhere between 50 and 110 units per liter, that is a healthy range. If it's higher than that, that can actually indicate bile duct blockage, okay? Which can then, if it's blocked, it could lead to things like an emergency gallbladder removal, which you don't want, because you want the gallbladder to still be there, because that's actually what holds the bile, and the bile gets released anytime you have the fat, so you want to keep your gallbladder. Cirrhosis of the liver, so that's like the liver is really suffering. Gallbladder inflammation, again, that leads to the removal of the gallbladder, but really it's the liver that's the issue. Gallstones, which are quite painful, so again, you want to look at the liver. Hepatitis, which is a liver issue, and yeah, so if the levels are high, that can indicate those conditions or leading up to those conditions. Okay, so you actually want to keep it on the lower side, because if it's high, that shows that the enzymes are really high, trying to break down things that shouldn't be there. So really, you really want to get your blood work done. ALT is another liver marker, and you want it between 50 and 25 units per liter. If it's higher than that, that can actually indicate liver cancer, liver damage, definitely liver damage, because you've got a lot of enzymes trying to break down things down, cirrhosis of the liver, and hepatitis, okay? So ideally you want it below 20, that's the ideal range, and the lower the better, okay? Then you've got your AST. Again, you want it between 50 and 25 units per liter, and same, cirrhosis of the liver if it's too high, heart conditions for that one. So it's a different set of enzymes that the liver releases, and if they're really high, that can indicate a real heart issue. Hepatitis and mono. So you want to catch these things before they escalate. That's why it's really important to be proactive and get your blood work done. Okay, the last one is bilirubin. You want bilirubin to be between 0.2 and 1 milligrams per deciliter. If it's too high, it can actually show abnormal red cell destruction. That's not what you want. You want healthy red blood cells. You want the ones being destroyed if they're too old, and you want the ones to be renewed. So it could be breaking them down too quickly. It could also mean again, the bile duct. So you want to pay attention to these markers, because you don't want that bile duct blocked, because that could lead to gallstones, as we talked about, or removal of gallbladder. And hepatitis. Okay, so those are, again, blood doesn't lie, and you want to get your blood work done to look at those markers. Now, let's actually look at symptomology wise. So these are kind of like the everyday symptoms that you would experience if your liver is sluggish. Well, the first one is you have nausea. So if you have nausea throughout the day, you know that the body isn't doing really well with the bile. And so you want to make sure that you want to take a look at the liver and make sure it's cleaning. The other thing is, again, blood sugar dysregulation. If you can't go more than 4 hours before eating, you've really got to make sure the liver is working. The other thing is, anybody who has any hormone issues, instead of grabbing the, going right to, hormone replacement therapy, what about looking at the root cause, which is liver. So make sure that your liver is being cleansed before you even start to look at hormone replacement therapy, because really it could be just the liver. And see, here's the thing. If you go ahead and get the hormone replacement therapy, you've never really dealt with the root cause, which is liver. And if that's the case, then the liver is sluggish, it could lead to other problems, and you haven't really looked there. So that's really important. The other one is if you have a lot of gas and bloating and you're not able to break down your foods, well, the liver is really struggling because it's stressed because of all the toxins, okay? So those are signs that your liver is really congested. The last one is if you can't have a glass of wine without reacting, your liver is congested, and it's really cleaning out the liver so that you can enjoy that beautiful glass of wine at the end of the day alongside your delicious healthy meal. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about gallbladder. So the gallbladder actually is a small tiny sac, and it sits behind the liver, and what it does is it's a storage tank. So all it does is store the bile that gets released from the liver. And what's important about that is you want it to orchestrate correctly. So what that means is when you eat your foods and it has fat in it, you chew your food really well, enters into the stomach, and then before it gets to the stomach, what happens is the body gets signal that there's fat coming down. So then the gallbladder gets a signal, it starts to release the bile to break down the fat, okay? And it needs to orchestrate correctly because it needs to be able to break down the fat. And so if that works, then you're good with having, a good amount of fat in your diet. But if your liver's congested and you have issues with the gallbladder, a ketogenic diet would be like the worst diet for you, because you don't have the organs that are not able to break down the fats, and you think you're doing something right by doing a ketogenic diet for things like brain cognition or even healthy metabolism, but actually your organs aren't ready for something like that. So your best bet is to, if that's not working, clean out those organs first, then you can start to incorporate something like a ketogenic diet. Okay, that's something really to consider. And the other thing about bile, it's so important. It actually acts to, once you release the bile and it starts to break down the fats, then what happens is it clears out the pathogenic organisms in your intestinal tract. Do you know how important that is? That's your immune system. Why is that important? Because we need to mount a proper immune system to be able to fight off all these viruses and bacteria and pathogens. A lot of it has to do with gut health. And a lot of that has to do with bile production that no one's talking about, but we need to. Okay, so let's think about the liver and the gallbladder. If you have headaches and you have migraines, that is also due to a gallbladder issue. This is based on Chinese medicine, especially if you have like frontal headaches up here or even migraines, your gallbladder is suffering. Again, it's not just the gallbladder. You got to look upstream to the liver. Now, here's the other common mistake I see all the time. In fact, I heard about it just yesterday when I had someone inquire about my nutritional consulting and fitness programs. They're taking milk thistle, and they really reacted negatively to milk thistle. Well, yes, because anybody who doesn't feel well, if they're fatigued or they're not sleeping or they have, liver issues, milk thistle tonifies the liver. It doesn't clean the liver. You need to clean, then you tone. You never repair or tone before you clean, because you're going to react negatively. The liver doesn't want to be toned or repaired. No, it needs to be cleaned. So you want to clean out the liver first. Then you can start later down the road, like 2, 3, maybe 4 months down the road. Then you can start to use plant medicine like milk thistle, but not first line of defense. That is a common mistake. So if you know that's a really good, if you can share that information to someone else, because that's actually really, really important. And so I know for me, I'm really proactive with my health. Why? Because I had to recover it over 20 years ago when I had osteoporosis that I had to fix. And it was because I wasn't eating properly. My body was breaking down, so my bones were breaking down, and it was because I wasn't eating in alignment with my natural diet. Okay, I was following the wrong advice. And so once I figured it out and I started to eat a natural diet that was compatible to my biochemistry, then actually I was able to fix my bones, and they're 100% normal now. But what I did was, one of the ways that I did that was I actually did a cleanse, not a cleanse, but really I cleaned out my liver, my kidney, and my gut. And so since that time, I regularly do, every change of season, we need to think about clearing out our organs of detoxification. And for me, what I do is I just take detox gem, and this is actual detoxification. So it goes to my liver and my kidneys and my gut, and it starts to clear away the toxins, so that later down the road I'll start to do the toning and the repair. But anybody who's incorporating a detoxification program, a common mistake I see is they're not soaking up the toxins that are being released from these organs, and that's why you have this detox reaction. You should never have a detox reaction when you're on an active detox. If so, you're reincorporating your toxins. That is a very, very bad strategy. Why? Because you're always inflaming. You're making it worse, actually. So you want to make sure that you're soaking up the toxins if you're actively doing a detox with something like liquid chlorophyll, or you could take blue-green algae. Just make sure it's a clean source. Don't get the cheap stuff, because you're putting in, they actually found heavy metals and all sorts of additives in cheaper products. I mean, spend the extra money and get something professional, like something like that. Genestra is one of the best professional lines out there that is highly regarded as very, very clean. They test everything. And the last thing I would suggest is if you're doing an active detox, you want to make sure that you're supporting your immune system while you're doing that. Why? Because it is a little bit of a stress, but it's a good stress because you're cleaning out the junk. But you want to think about taking a probiotic that would help to put in the good organisms into your gut to allow for a healthy immune system. But don't just buy any probiotic. You don't want a cow strain, you want a human strain. That's why this one's called HMF, human microflora, because we're humans. We're not meant to have cow strain. And so really look at your probiotic. If it's a cow strain, don't have it. And also it needs to be with food, unless it actively says without food. Otherwise it's not gonna work. You're gonna waste your money if you do that. Okay, so now we talked about, first of all, we talked about the liver and the gallbladder and signs that it may be sluggish and what to do. We talked about milk thistle, which would be a common mistake not to do as first line. And also if you're on an active detox, to make sure you're soaking up the toxins actively with a liquid chlorophyll or chlorogen, and then using a probiotic that's from a human strain. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna talk about the spring restoration diet that I just went through with my personal clients. I speak to them every week and I gave them a new diet, and this was my spring respiration diet. So they actually get a recipe booklet. So I'm gonna talk about a few of the things that I shared with them to get you inspired. And if anyone here is looking for a personalized spring restoration diet, I'm here for that because that's what I do and I love to do that. So what are we gonna eat? Well, here's the thing. Because it's spring, we want to make sure the first 4 hours of the day between 8 a.m. and 12 noon is actually really light foods. And we're going to get away from the heavier foods like we did in the winter time. So remember, we're transitioning into spring. And so in the winter time, we ate soups and stews and lots of roasts. Well, we're transitioning now into lighter food. So what does that mean? We want smoothies, or we want more like fruit and light foods in the morning between 8 and 12 noon to be able to give our digestive tract a rest. And the best strategy is really to build a smoothie, okay? And so you want to think about berries, but that's the first ingredient I would think about. And when you're looking at your berries, I'd be looking at berries that have seeds in them, because when you have a cup of berries in your smoothie with seeds in them, they're going to allow for a healthy bowel movement. What does that do? Remove fat-soluble toxins, so it's going to really help the liver. So when it comes to berries, please, okay, you're gonna do yourself a big favor if you only buy organic. Why? Because a lot of them are highly sprayed. What does that do? It plugs up the liver again. So make sure that the berries are organic, and you can buy them at lots of places frozen. And so mixed berries or just wild blueberries. If you can find wild blueberries, that is actually really has been linked to healthy aging, longevity. The wild blueberries, it has an ingredient in there that really helps with what we call sirtuins, which helps with reversing aging. So blueberries are really good. If you can find the wild blueberries, that's even better. And strawberries have something in them as well that's really anti-aging. Look for wild strawberries or raspberries. Again, you want the seeds. Get the ones with the seeds, because they're less tinkered with as well. And so you wanna look at something like that. And so you wanna put your berries in, but then you wanna add a liquid to that. And we don't wanna add juice, because juice is sugar, and that's gonna disrupt your blood sugars, and it's gonna affect it actually leads to fatty liver. So you wanna think about unsweetened almond milk or unsweetened coconut milk. Those would be like two really good liquids that you can add to that. And then what you want to think about is adding in some protein. So we don't want to miss the protein if we're having berries in the morning and we're thinking we need to eat light by just having fruit. No, because you're going to disrupt your blood sugar levels. You want to balance that out with some protein and some fat. So the protein powder can either do a whey protein powder isolate, which actually has the best amino acid profile for metabolism, or if you have a sensitivity to dairy or you're avoiding it, then you can do a really healthy plant-based protein powder. And when you look at the label, make sure it's protein and not like protein with a ton of carbs, because you're having it for the protein. That's the other part, okay? And then you want to add a fat to that smoothie. So you want to think about things like avocado is really good. Unless you have IBS or you're on a FODMAPs diet, then you want to actually avoid avocado. And I know some of my clients are doing that. And so instead of the avocado, what they're doing is they're putting in some crunchy almond butter, which is really high in calcium, or they could put some seeds in there, which is actually really good for the springtime. What kind of seeds? Well, if you're constipated, you want to think about flax seeds, but make sure they're ground first. If you want to look like at a really healthy, balanced omega-3 profile, then you want to get something like chia seeds. That's like strength, vitality. We know chia seeds are what the warriors had in ancient times, or even hemp seeds. So chia seeds, hemp seeds, or ground flax seeds would be really, really smart to put into your smoothies. Then you have a well-balanced breakfast. So you have your berries, you have your liquid, which is almond milk or coconut milk, and then you have your protein powder. Please don't miss the protein powder part. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time losing weight or keeping it off. The protein is what's going to boost metabolism. And then you want to get the fat in, so that about 1 or 2 tablespoons is really all you need. And that will, when you blend it up in the morning, it's going to, first of all, taste amazing. And second of all, you're going to be able to go 3-4 hours. For me, I'm probably 5 hours on that. Until you have your lunch. So let's talk about lunch now. So that's your breakfast. Now for lunch, we're gonna think about foods, these specific foods for spring. Okay, remember, these are foods actually for liver and gallbladder. So, and these are the foods you want to incorporate between 12 and 8 p.m. Past 8 p.m., you really don't want to have any food. Otherwise, it's going to disrupt your sleep, and sleep is foundational, okay? So when we're looking at foods within those times, we actually want to think about asparagus. And wild asparagus or spring asparagus is plentiful right now, and it's only short lasting. So that's a sign that our bodies need it, because that's what's growing right now. What's growing in your environment that's short-lived, those are the foods you want to consume more of. And then, so these ones here, you can actually have raw. You want to take the tips off because they're too fibrous and hard to break down. But you can definitely have the top part. And it's best to have raw. Why? First of all, it's good for liver. Second of all, it's really good prebiotic. What is a prebiotic? Prebiotic helps to increase the microbes in your gut that are healthy, so you grow more of them, so that you balance your immune system again, so that you can, when you're exposed to all these viruses, which you are all the time, or pathogens like bacteria, your body has a strong defense system, is what you want, because you're taking care of the good guys, you're taking care of the army, and that's exactly what asparagus does. So you're going to want to add that into your meals. You can do it raw or just slightly steamed, not more than slightly steamed, because then you're going to reduce the nutrient value. Now we're going to get into beets. So beets are blood building, but not only that, they're really good for the liver. And so here is a beet, and look how gorgeous that is. Red like blood. Yeah, because it's blood building. The other thing it's good for is liver. So the other thing it's good for, actually, it helps with constipation. So if you're constipated, raw beets would be better than cooked beets. It's got the extra fiber in there to allow for a good bowel movement. So I would incorporate beets regularly. And I would actually grate them and put them raw into your food. So here we talked about asparagus being raw, and then we talked about beets being raw. Really, really good. Broccoli is important, and I wish I had some to show you, but we ate it all last night. So broccoli just slightly steamed. So you want it to turn like bright green, which would be like less than a minute when you're steaming it, not more than that. You're losing the nutritional value if you steam it for more. You don't want broccoli raw. It's goitrogenic. It'll affect the thyroid, which is your metabolism, and you wonder why you can't lose weight or even keep it off, or you're getting a goiter. It's because you don't want raw broccoli. You want it slightly steamed. The other one you want to think about is cabbage. And so we know what cabbage looks like. Here's a green cabbage. But here's what I want to incorporate, encourage you to do. Here's a red cabbage. I want you to color your plate. I want you to have it make a piece of art. And what I mean is every single color has its own nutrient value. And I want you to look at food as medicine. I do. And I want you to eat what's grown in your environment, ideally. But I do want you to color your plate. And so for cabbage, I love cabbage raw. And so you can just cut it up, slice that up really thin, and have it raw. If it's cooked, it would be in something like borscht. So being Russian, we grew up with a lot of borscht. Borscht is really, really good for the liver as well. And we added a piece of meat to that, and it was just like a perfect one-pot meal. It was so delicious. So cabbage, color your plate. Carrots, I don't have something to show you because we ate them all. When it comes to carrots, they're better to be raw. Why? Because they're going to be lower glycemic. What does that mean? That's going to support healthy you're going to be able to lose the weight and keep it off because your blood sugar is going to be stable. If you cook your carrots too long, they're high glycemic, they're going to cause an insulin spike, and that could lead to why you can't lose weight because your blood sugar is dysregulated. The other thing is carrots are really high in really good fiber. When it comes to carrots, please look for heritage carrots. So the older variety. Why? Because they're higher in nutrition. You don't want to get the hybridized, really sweet carrots because they're higher glycemic, but they don't have that same nutritional value. You want everything. You want to get the old varieties with all your vegetables. Okay, you don't want to get the ones that are all sweetened up. All right. So, because it's better for your health. Now, cauliflower, I don't have an example here, but what I want you to think about for cauliflower is all different colors again, because there's green, there's purple, there's the kind of the creamy, so green, purple, there's the white kind of creamy. I want you to try them all, okay? Really explore and have fun with your food because again, they each have their own nutrients. For cauliflower, you can have it raw. Broccoli, no. Cauliflower, yes. And you do want to start to increase your raw vegetables, whereas wintertime we would kind of eat more cooked, mostly cooked. Now we're starting to transition to cooked and raw. Remember, you're transitioning. It's not all raw. That's way too stressful on the body. The body has to mount its own enzymes to be able to break down the raw because it actually is hard to digest if you're not used to it. So you just slowly build up the tolerance, slowly allow your body to create these enzymes because your body is amazing. But you don't want to like slam it with all these raw veggies. You want to add it with the cooked as well. Dandelion greens is your #1 spring vegetable. Why? Because it is the #1 for liver and actually kidney and blood. It actually acts like it supports the liver in that. The root is the detoxing part of the actual plant. The leaves are just supporting the liver, but the root is actually the clearing and the detox. You've seen dandelion root in the stores, well, because that is for cleansing. But really, if we start to introduce these dandelion greens, and all you need to do really, if you don't spray your backyard with chemicals, which I hope you don't, you can pick them in the backyard. Now they're starting to grow. What does that mean? That means we're supposed to eat them. We look at, they're actually not weeds, they're plant medicine, and they're right in your backyard. And so when you see them starting to grow, it's the spring greens that we want more of. We don't want to wait too long because they get too fibrous and they're hard to break down, but it's the spring dandelion leaves that you want. So when you look at them, look at it like a liver tonic because that's exactly what it is. And even the flowers, you can eat those too. Just make sure you rinse it really well. And you can incorporate that in a salad. You can actually put that in your smoothie, which is super smart. So dandelion greens is something you want to start consuming as soon as they start growing. Garlic is a really important vegetable right now. You can call it a herb. Anyway, so this one here, garlic is really good. Some people react to the raw, so maybe they need to cook it. Some people can't have it at all because they can't sleep like my husband, but I chow on it. And there's different types of garlics. There's Russian garlic, which is really pungent. There's other types of garlic. I recommend trying them all. Like you want a variety. I want to see you guys play in the kitchen and try new things, okay? So what I love about garlic is it's antimicrobial. It's really good to get rid of candida as well. So if you find that you're craving a lot of sugar and carbs and breads and alcohol, it could be a candida overgrowth, especially if you see fungus on your feet or fungus on your feet for sure is a sign of exterior, like it's grown really outside where it needs to be and now it's showing up on your skin. You know that it's pretty systemic when it's showing up as athlete's foot. But anyways, we want to keep the candida at a level that's manageable because actually it's beneficial if you keep it manageable. Why? Because it keeps your immune system optimal because it's always trying to keep it down, so it keeps it strong. It really does. It has a role to play, but not if it overtakes. And so garlic is good to incorporate to keep it down, but also a broad spectrum antimicrobial. Okay, so it'll keep your immune system really, really running well. And then next on the list is when it comes to garlic, right? You'll be seeing these garlic scapes start to show up in farmers markets and stores. Those are the greens that grow on top of the garlic. Those are incredibly delicious. And they have a different nutritional value than the actual bulb. And with those, you can have them raw, which I do very frequently. You could have them slightly cooked, which you can do. Either way, they're going to be super beneficial. And remember, they don't last very long because they're just short-lived, but I want you guys to have as much of that as you can. Really, really nutritious for you. I enjoy mine with olives, and I like Asiago cheese with that. So the three of those together is a nice little snack if I need a snack. It tastes really good. And then we need to look at parsley. Parsley is so important. So we talked about dandelion greens as a good green. We want to talk about parsley now. So look how green that is. Yeah, it's full of chlorophyll. The more chlorophyll you have and the more that you go outside, the better, the more energy your body's going to produce like a plant. It's like photosynthesis. Your body is like a plant. And it reacts just like plants do. We need water, we need good food, but we need the greens to be able to help with our ATP, which is the energy production. So eat more parsley. The other thing parsley does is it helps get away pain, because anytime you have pain, you're acidic. Parsley has a ton of minerals, and so you can counteract the pain by just adding a bunch of parsley. Again, it's really good for the liver as well. You can put that in your smoothies. Like, try and find ways that you can incorporate these foods in an easy, simple way, but just have them in the house. So next time you go grocery shopping, I hope you're taking notes. Chow on these particular foods, because this is what we're supposed to be eating now when we're looking at eating within our circadian rhythm and in balance with the seasons, which is how we need to be healthy. Why? Because we're actually from nature. We are humans. We are not toaster ovens. We are actual human beings that need to eat natural food in season. So now we're going to talk about potatoes. We know potatoes are so vilified when you're looking at losing weight, but really now's the time to start incorporating them. But I want you to have them with the skins. And if they're cold, they're actually full of resistant starch, which actually feeds the lower bowel, which actually helps with things like Crohn's and colitis and anybody with irritable bowel. It acts completely differently than a warm potato. Okay, they act. It's food is information. It will change how it behaves in the body if it's cold. And so if you're having a challenge with your colon, then you want to think about having cold potatoes. Okay, but make sure the skin is on. If you aren't having challenges with the colon, you just want to be healthy, then just have a potato. I wouldn't have more than one potato because it could be too many carbs, and you want to make sure it's balanced with protein and fat to be healthy. But really, just one potato would be really, really healthy for you. They're full of nutrition. I think it's vitamin C, actually. I can check that, but I'm pretty sure it's got a good amount of vitamin C. Again, with potatoes, color your plate. There's purple potatoes, which are Russian potatoes. Russian potatoes are really, really high, and they're really low in like glycemic index, which means that they're higher in, they're lower in sugar, kind of put it that way. And so there's red potatoes, purple potatoes, white potatoes. I want you to try them all. Color your plate. Remember with the skin's on. The next thing I want you to think about, and we're almost done here, are sprouts. So sprouts are like these, they're so full of nutrition, even more than the vegetable. The sprouts are more. But the other thing is, when we're looking at sprouts, if you're having seeds, look for sprouted seeds, because these are way easier to digest. They're live. They provide more nutrient value, and you don't need as much to be able to harvest the energy from them. And so you want to think about sprouts. And the last thing I want to talk about is herbal tea, which is something I have every day, and I change it up. But if we're looking at supporting our vitamin C levels to be antiviral, to guard against viruses, then we want to think about hibiscus tea. Hibiscus or so rose hips, really good for vitamin C. It's like you can drink medicine, and that's what we want to do. We want to look at our kitchen like plant medicine, so that everything we put in our bodies is going to have a positive effect, because really it's not about the genes that you're born with. It's about how the genes are being activated. Are you mounting a health response, or are you mounting a disease response? Because really it's called epigenetics. What are the genes swimming in? That's a lot of what the food will help to support healthy gene expression, okay? And so again, look at food and liquids as plant medicine, which is exactly what I do. And now when it comes to grains, so we can start introducing more grains into our diet. What the grains that are the most important right now are quinoa and millet, okay? These are the spring grains that we can start to introduce. Now, the key with quinoa is you've got to soak it, and millet. It needs to be soaked in water and salt for about 8 hours to get rid of the anti-nutrients, because you can't just cook up quinoa. That's actually not healthy for you. You need to be able to soak it first. My son, he's just coming in home. Hi, Trey. So when it comes to quinoa, you can actually buy it sprouted already, or you can just buy it just in its container. And again, you want to soak it in water and salt. And then what happens is after that, you want to rinse it really, really well. And you're going to see all the soap come out, all the bubbles come out. That's the saponins that if you had that, it would cause an irritation. So just remember, you've got to soak it first. Same with millet, okay? So these are very alkalizing grains. They're going to help with good blood flow. They're going to help with good acid alkaline balance. And these are the grains you want to have now. But remember, you got to soak them first. Okay. I'm going to end here with a couple things. The first one is, and thanks Gail and thanks Ken for joining, and there's a bunch of others too. I want to bring this information out there once a week. In fact, I'm going to be creating a show, and it'll be Fit and Healthy with Michelle. So you actually get training from me once a week on how to eat, move, and live to have a fit and healthy life, because more than ever, we need this information, and we need to empower our bodies with the right diet and not what's marketed as healthy, because most of it, I see a lot of it, it's just not healthy. It's so much about like industry and marketing. It's not really about your health. And I just want to bring the truth out there and let you decide if it feels right for you. But I'm going to show you a natural diet that's seasonal that can actually help to support your immune system, which is really important now, but also your metabolism. Because if you're carrying too much weight, you're always inflaming, and your immune system and your rate of the chance of you falling prey of viruses and that are a lot greater. And we all know that, right? So anyways, getting back to, these are the foods that stress the liver and the gallbladder. What are they? Well, we know sugar is going to. Sugar feeds cancer. Sugar is going to stress the liver. What does it do? It causes fatty liver. When that happens, like everything falls off the rails if the liver is fatty. And if you're 20 or more pounds overweight, you have fatty liver. And so I work with that all the time. I've been trained by Dr. Michael Adams, and he's trained us how to clear away the fatty liver so that the body can have good hormones, good blood sugar balance. The fat starts to the body fat starts to melt away because the liver is healthy and you're healthy too. Honey, I'm not a fan of honey. Not now. It's too full of toxins because because of the way it's grown and because of our environmental toxins, it actually holds on to toxins more than ever. And I'm not a fan. I'm more a fan of real maple syrup, grade B, or coconut sugar, which is high in minerals. Honey used to be good. I'm not so convinced it's good anymore. So I would switch it up, but I feel comfortable doing that, and you guys can check it out. Obviously, fry the lighter meats. And we want to think about chicken, turkey, and fish. Okay, so Trey's home. Reese is calling me. I am a mom and I'm a wife, but I also wanted to empower you with this information so that you can eat, move, and live to really have a fit and healthy life. So if anyone's here is struggling with their diet, obviously I'm a nutritionist and I would love to customize it for your particular body and your goals. Please join me next week. Fit and Healthy with Michelle. It'll actually be through a Facebook group page where I'm going to start to build a community, and I want to lead the way into what really works and what's worked for a lot of my clients. So I'm going to put a link to join my Fit and Healthy with Michelle, and I'd love for you to share this with people that you love, especially the milk thistle part. We don't want to start taking that until we start to clean away the liver. I also encourage you to take the blood work. I'm getting mine done tomorrow, talking to my doctor, and I'm getting my blood work done tomorrow. I'm getting my micronutrient test. I'm getting all my markers done now, because now is the time we need to empower our health. Okay, why would we want to wait? Now is the time. We're being flooded with all this, the viruses and the environmental toxins. We don't have to be afraid of it. No, we need to empower our own bodies. Why? Because we're strong. So thanks for joining, and I'd love for you to share this, and please join my Fit and Healthy with Michelle. I'll share the link, and any comments you have, obviously I'd love to hear from you. And I do love you, and I want you to keep fit and healthy simple.